Overrated. The one word that's guaranteed to spark a debate at any lunch table or water cooler across the world. And with respect to fans of all other sports out there, in the NBA community, this tag holds far more weight than being a simple judgment of a player's value compared to their perception. For NBA fans, this tag can mean an entire legion of fans descending upon a player, attacking with stats, jokes, and memes unlike any other fan base out there, with the victim being left nearly unrecognizable to the same fans who had once lauded their ability. In recent years, there's been a specific type of player that's had this tag placed upon them, with the community finding itself in agreement about the disproportionate level of praise they receive relative to their talent and on-court results. The Lamelos, the Jalen Greens, the flashy players who captivate highlight reels while underachieving on the court with little championship hardware or postseason impact to show for all their skill. But amongst the NBA's newest brigade of overrated stars stands one unique case whose journey from underrated to overrated has been one of the strangest in league history because of how much his individual and team success has somewhat backfired on him. One Tyler Herro. Herro, who's routinely found himself on lists of the most overrated players and captured the ire of NBA fans with his flashy lifestyle and social media presence, isn't as much of an open and shut overrated case as his combo guard peers, because the undeniable level of individual improvement and postseason success that he's had has built a convincing argument that he's different from the good stats, bad team merchants that typically get handed the overrated label. But a closer look at Herro's career and the way that his premature crowning by his teammates and the front office, along with that same front office continuing to misunderstand what he was to their roster, is a one-of-one case study in how great expectations, roster mismanagement, and a fair amount of ego can come together to create one of the most misunderstood villains in all of sports. So let's talk about Tyler Herro, his journey to becoming overrated, and uncover the NBA's superhero complex. Before we can begin to understand how Herro's reputation got so muddled in the minds of fans, we have to briefly revisit his reputation as a prospect entering the league, because it serves as the perfect starting point for where Herro went wrong. And a quick look at his scouting report reveals he simply wasn't supposed to be this good. After spending his lone year of college at Kentucky, scouts had a mixed opinion on Herro as a prospect, with an up-and-down shooting year and some unexpected, yet impressive flashes as a ball handler forming a much more dynamic draft profile than was expected for the would-be sharpshooter. In fact, in his scouting report on Herro's offensive ceiling entering the draft, Bleacher Report's Jonathan Wasserman made it clear that Herro's value to a team would depend wholly on the roster surrounding him, writing, quote, "Lacking a one-on-one game and wiggle, Herro doesn't project as a high upside scorer, but he does have the potential to become a team's starting, complementary shot maker. He's bound to have games where he catches fire. He'll also continue to be vulnerable to cold streaks. Regardless, his size, offensive skill, and toughness point to a dangerous role player, particularly if a front office can continue surrounding him with talent." As we've seen time and time again with these scouting reports, Herro's starting position in the league and his ceiling were never meant to be that of an all-star or even a number one option for a serious team. And as we continue on throughout his career, keep in mind this baseline level of who Herro was meant to be in the NBA. Because paradoxically, through a series of repeated improvements and untimely collapses, he'd find himself going from an underrated up-and-comer to widely being viewed as one of the league's most overrated pieces. And as we all know, this journey would begin immediately in his first season, when he was drafted to the Miami Heat in what was the definitive start of an all-new era in South Beach. See, while Miami by no means had been the worst team in the East, or even consistently in the bottom tier, the departure of LeBron James paired with the exit and return of an already declining Dwayne Wade had left Miami in an unprecedented state of struggle for the franchise. After finishing with a 39-43 record in the 2018-19 season, the Heat had just missed the playoffs by 2 games, marking the third time in the last 5 seasons without a postseason trip, something that hadn't happened since the franchise's first 5 years from 1989 to 94, and thus, the roster overhaul that happened in the offseason officially marked an all-new era, as Jimmy Butler's acquisition, along with the retirement of Wade and the emergence of Bam Adebayo, didn't position Herro to outright be the X factor for Miami, but certainly placed more expectations on him to help the Heat return to the postseason than a 13th pick in a draft would typically have. And when Herro's rookie season began, he immediately put the league on notice that he was more than up to the challenge. Over his rookie season, as Miami managed to return to the playoff picture, Herro's averages of 13.5 points and 2.2 assists on 42.8% from the field and 38.9% from three on 5.4 attempts a game saw the rookie land in the upper echelon of shooters in the league, as his three-point percentage jumped to a 39.2% when you subtract heave attempts, placing him in the 82nd percentile of all combo guards. And on top of this, his 38.1% shooting on non-corner threes specifically was good to place him in the 85th percentile. But while these numbers were solid for Herro and much appreciated by a Heat team that had 6 separate players end the season averaging double digits, the NBA's abrupt hiatus gave Herro a unique chance to have a mini offseason prior to the restart in August. And when he returned to the court, he looked like an almost unrecognizable player. After averaging a much more impressive 17.3 points and 3.8 assists over the Heat's 8 tune-up games in the bubble, Herro looked to have already shattered his pre-draft ceiling as a dangerous role player in the playoffs, averaging 16 points and 3.7 assists on 43.3% from the field and 37.5% from three on 6.1 attempts a game as Miami battled their way to an unexpected finals matchup with the LeBron James-led Lakers. In just his rookie playoff run, Herro would find himself near the top of the league as far as catch-and-shoot efficiency went, with him finishing 23rd in effective field goal percentage amongst all players who took at least 2 catch-and-shoot attempts a game at a 62.5%. And as the Heat got deeper and deeper into the playoffs and Herro took on more on-ball responsibility, though there were some very key areas that he struggled in, particularly as it pertained to his finishing at the rim and playmaking for others, his volume and efficiency as a pull-up shooter was far more advanced than expected, with him scoring 5.4 points a game off pull-up jumpers, which was good to place him 23rd in the playoffs, while simultaneously shooting 41.9% on these looks, which placed him 22nd amongst all players who scored at least 3 points a game on pull-ups. Unfortunately though, through the mostly uncompetitive 6-game final series, Herro wasn't great, only averaging 14.7 points and 3 assists on much less efficient shooting, with the Lakers absolutely stifling him and exposing his decision-making as a ball handler through a mix of blitzes and quick rotations that frankly overwhelmed the rookie. But even with the finals loss, Herro's rookie season was nothing short of electric and can act as the perfect starting point and, in a lot of ways, summation of what his career would go on to become, as he ultimately was able to shatter expectations and become a piece far more versatile and offensively capable than anyone could have imagined. Yet, as his role began to shift to become more and more of an offensive focal point, his limitations as a ball handler were exposed and compounded with his already lackluster reputation on defense. And while his struggles in the finals this year would be written off as an unexpected road bump in an otherwise incredible rookie season, as the years continue on and Miami's expectations continue to grow, we'll watch as these fundamental flaws are ignored by the Heat front office in Tyler's own development. Regardless, after such a standout rookie campaign, Herro and Miami were primed to have a much more hyped 2021 season. And while from a team success perspective, Miami would regress, Herro's development this year would set the stage for a major shift in his role for the future. Over the 2021 season, Herro would boost his averages to 15.1 points and 3.4 assists on an improved 43.9% from the field, but a less than impressive 36% from three on 5.5 attempts a game. Numbers that reflected both an increased confidence and role in the Heat's offense, along with the same struggles he'd shown last year as a ball handler. Herro's usage rate would jump slightly to a 23.1%. Up from the 21.3% he'd had as a rookie, and good to place him in the 67th percentile of all combo guards. But this 2% jump gave Herro a lot more room to experiment both as a driver and rim finisher, as he not only boosted his drives per game to 9.3 this season, up from the 5.7 he'd had as a rookie, but his scoring and passing numbers on drives improved as well, with him having an 11.8% assist percentage and scoring 3.9 points a game on 47.6% shooting from the field. All improvements from his rookie year. On top of this, Herro's 64.7% shooting at the rim was not only an 8% improvement from last year, but again placed him in the 75th percentile of all combo guards and represented a genuine improvement in an area that was exposed during his struggles against the Lakers. Granted, he only took 139 shots at the rim and still struggled getting there, but improvement is still improvement regardless of how marginal it is. And with him seeing more aggressive defenses and layers of help as an on-ball player, Herro showcased a lot more poise and shot versatility than he'd shown just a few months earlier. With his array of snake dribbles, varying pull-up footworks, and deceleration steps in traffic, all playing a massive role in his development. All of this growth was reflected in his analytics as a pick-and-roll ball handler, where he had a relatively similar frequency at a 29.8%, yet a 0.91 points per 100 possessions and 50.5% effective field goal percentage. We're good to place him in the 63rd percentile of all players this year, a massive leap from the 25th percentile that he found himself in as a rookie. Ultimately though, the 2021 season would end in a first-round loss to the Bucks, where Herro had another massive regression to just 9.3 points and 1.8 assists as Miami was unceremoniously swept. But once again, with Herro having an inconsistent but improved sophomore campaign, the 2021-22 season would see Miami fully hand Herro the keys and set the stage for a massive breakout. As the Heat returned to glory with a 53-win season and a conference finals appearance, a legitimate argument could be made that Herro was the most important player on the team. With his averages of 20.7 points and 4 assists on 44.7% shooting from the field and 39.9% from 3 on 6.7 attempts a game, not only marking career highs, but cementing him as the definitive number 2 option for the new-look Heat. While Jimmy Butler led and acted as the number 1 option for the Heat's starting lineup, Herro's explosive scoring off the bench was pivotal in the Heat's success, as Miami scored 4 more points per 100 possessions with him on the floor and had a 0.8 higher effective field goal percentage with him out there. Splits that placed him in the 81st and 65th percentile respectively, and with the highest mark out of the Heat's big three of Adebayo, Herro, and Butler. Herro's impact this year was a direct result of some top-of-the-league level efficiency, with his overall three-point shooting and non-corner three-point shooting in particular placing him in the 82nd percentile in both areas, doing a lot to help Miami, who finished this season first in team three-point percentage at a 37.9%. But it wasn't just Herro's growth that fueled the first-seeded Heat. And at the same time that he was having his breakout, Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, and Caleb Martin all emerged as elite-level role players that looked to be the supporting cast that would help the team return to the finals. But as the playoffs wore on and Miami made their way to the conference finals against the Celtics, it became increasingly clear that the Heat culture experiment wouldn't be enough. And after seeing his scoring averages steadily decrease over the playoffs for the third year in a row, a groin injury in Game 3 of the conference finals derailed what had quickly begun to look like another year of postseason regression for the newly minted 6th man of the year. To pause for a bit, the 2021-22 season, both for Herro and the Heat, is extremely useful in helping to understand the unique situation that's helped build up Herro's reputation as overrated. Because on the one hand, it's undeniable that he's improved in some aspect of his play each year statistically, and grown into an indispensable piece for a perennial contender. But it's also equally true that he showcased a pattern of postseason regression and injury concerns that have time and time again hard-capped Miami's ability to compete when it matters most. And while these concerns wouldn't stop Miami from offering him a $130 million extension in 2022, as his career wears on and the Heat continue to bank on his progression, the silent whispers of overrated will quickly grow into unavoidable criticism. And in the first year of his big-time extension, the cycle would repeat itself to a T, as Herro would enter the 22-23 season, finally having been promoted to the starting lineup, and he'd have similar production in this larger role, averaging 20.1 points and 4.2 assists on 43.9% from the field and 37.8% from 3 on 8 attempts a game, leading the Heat this year both in field goals and three-pointers attempted per game. But with Herro being inserted into the starting lineup this season, his shot creation profile was somewhat exposed playing against starting lineups and higher-level defenses that could scheme for him, and this led to some of his weaknesses as a rim scorer being exposed. In particular, the aforementioned struggles getting to the basket this year were on full display, as Herro's rim attempt frequency fell all the way to a 15%, which was the lowest mark of his career and landed him in the 16th percentile for the season. And these struggles getting to the rim were further complicated by some alarming pick and roll play, as among the 39 players who averaged at least 6 pick and roll possessions per game, Herro ranked 32nd in score frequency and landed in the 65th percentile of total pick and roll handlers. Splits that are decent for a role player or backup ball handler, but underwhelming for your $100 million offensive engine. And what's more is, as a driver, Herro was still exhibiting those same same struggles as a passer and scorer that he'd shown as a rookie against LA, as among players who had at least 10 drives a game, Herro ranked 19th in turnover percentage with a 6.3% and 26th in assist percentage at a 9.6. And again, when you pair these numbers with his status as a defensive liability, you begin to understand that the Heat's $130 million investment immediately began to look shaky in year one. And as if things couldn't get any more poetic for this season, after battling their way through the play-in and securing the 7th seed to face the Milwaukee Bucks, a broken hand in game 1 of the opening round relegated Herro to the bench. Forced to watch as the Heat fought their way to the NBA Finals again, but this time without him. So following the 22-23 season, as Miami was again stopped short of championship glory by an underdeveloped roster that overachieved and yet another injury to their new investment, the cracks in Herro's reputation had fully formed by the time the 23-24 season arrived. It was around this time that Miami's attempts to trade Herro would ramp up, particularly after Dame requested a trade from the Blazers with the Heat as his preferred destination. And Miami's trade package to Portland hinged squarely on Herro as the main piece, with his controversial value as a scorer spawning a wave of articles from NBA pundits trying to understand just who Herro was. And in his article for The Ringer that I've linked below, Zach Cram gave a blunt analysis of Herro's value as it stood to the broader NBA world, writing, quote, "Given his athletic limitations and inefficient scoring, Herro would never rise to a near MVP level or serve as the lead option on a team with championship aspirations. That's why the Heat want Lillard instead of him. As last season, and postseason after Butler cooled off demonstrated, Miami needs an offensive upgrade that Herro probably can't provide." At this point in Herro's career, Cram's article stood as a scathing but not inaccurate depiction of who the once promising rookie had consistently proven himself to be through the Heat's repeated postseason struggles. But the one aspect not accounted for in Cram's sentiment were the constant injuries that similarly diminished Herro's value. And these would be the storyline for his 2023-24 season, as Tyler was limited to just 42 games on the year, managing to return just in time to have another postseason regression in the Heat's first-round loss to the Celtics. But over the course of the 2024 offseason and through the early goings of the 24-25 regular season, the deterioration of Jimmy Butler's relationship with Pat Riley and the Heat forced yet another role shift for Herro, as the absence of the team's star and leader positioned Herro to truly be the number one on Miami, is not just a spark plug scorer, but is the leader of their offense. And in his first true season as a number one, Herro showcased more improvement. As Herro appeared in a career-best 77 games, he averaged 23.9 points and 5.5 assists on 47.2% from the field and 37.5% from 3 on 8.7 attempts a game, continuing his trend of improvement every year, but doing so while addressing a few key criticisms that had consistently been leveled against his shot profile. Namely, this season Herro worked to eliminate the mid-range shot attempts that had long bothered his critics and pointed to his inability to finish at the rim, with his mid-range shot attempt frequency dropping to a 36.4%, which was the lowest since his rookie year. Yet he was deadly efficient on the few middies he did take, with his 52.3% shooting from this area placing him in the 97th percentile amongst all combo guards this season. But the real revelation came from Herro's improvement at the rim, as his 227 rim field goal attempts were not only a career high, but his 65.6% shooting was yet another career best and good to place him in the 69th percentile, with his rim scoring being complemented by an even more efficient short mid-range game inside of 14 feet, where his 54% shooting placed him in the 94th percentile. All of this increased efficiency from the field culminated in an unreal 60.5% true shooting percentage for his debut season as a number one option, which was 9th in the NBA amongst qualifying point guards and led to quite a few apologies from critics who had seemingly been proven wrong in spectacular fashion by an all-time shooting season from Herro. But as we all know by this point, no matter how promising his regular season improvement may be, there's always a definitive ceiling come the postseason. And as Miami was thoroughly dismantled by the Cavs in 4 uncompetitive blowouts, Herro's improved offense did little to mitigate his defensive struggles, with Darius Garland bluntly stating and executing the Cavs' game plan on attacking Herro on defense. And this season really perfectly captures the Tyler Herro problem and the paradoxical nature of his value to a team and improvement as a player. From the time that he began his career as a projected catch-and-shoot guy with little wiggle and a rudimentary scoring game, he overachieved at every opportunity relative to who he was expected to be, bursting onto the scene during his rookie playoff run and subsequently improving statistically each year, with his offensive growth having tangible results in the film, the stat sheet, and most importantly, the win column. Yet, at the same time that he was growing offensively and becoming a bolder shot maker and personality, his stagnation as a defender and a less than elite reputation as a playmaker and rim finisher repeatedly derailed Miami's success when it matters most, leading to him having one of the strangest reputations the NBA has ever seen. And this is more or less where things stand now for Herro and the Heat, as an upcoming window for a $150 million extension looms over South Beach, and with trends around the league shifting away from high-scoring guards with lackluster defense in Herro's mold, Heat brass, fans, and commentators alike are all asking themselves the same question that's existed since the end of his rookie season. Just who exactly is Tyler Herro? So as this season approaches and the Heat look to have to lean again on Herro as a number one option, keep an eye on the unfolding situation in Miami, because what we're seeing is what happens when the superhero experiment goes wrong. But with all that being said, that's going to do it for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed, and hopefully I can catch you in the next one.